Hello, 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 all of you beautiful nerds from around the world. I am Josh. Welcome to this very special live stream here on a Saturday morning. I've been hearing some talk, good people of the internet. I've been hearing some things that people are saying. I don't know if you know this. People talk on the internet. It's an interesting phenomenon. But they've been saying that there is no way that the MCU can continue this crazy streak that it is on, that it is essentially over for the MCU post Endgame. We're losing Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. We are losing Chris Evans as Captain America. And there's just no way that the MCU is going to be able to carry that on and hold strong. And to all of that, I say nay. I say no. I say we will grow into prominence. I think actually we are heading towards possibly some of the best stuff ever in the MCU. And that would, of course, be Avengers 5, which I am damn sure is Secret Wars, aka Battleworld. That's what the stream is about. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about Battleworld. We're talking about Secret Wars. We're talking about Avengers 5. And when I say we, it is because I am joined with a very special guest. I am here with executive producer Ryan H. Ryan, how are you, man?
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, man. Couple hiccups with the with starting the stream,
Always.
but we're good. Guys, in chat, if you could let us know, how does the stream look? How does the stream sound? It's always tricky for us. I've got it looks like okay on our end, but I really can't tell. I can't tell because YouTube is YouTube, of course. So let us know, how does the stream sound? How does the stream look? Okay, we got some people saying it looks good. It sounds
There we
good.
go.
Awesome. Okay, so let me start off with this. Guys, in all seriousness, there's been so many rumors and so many different people talking about Battleworld and Secret Wars, right? So most notably and most recently, and I like the leaks, right? I like to check out what's going on in the leak world out there. Mikey Sutton, who I know a lot of the Marvel fans are sort of split on, how reliable is Mikey and all that. Mikey has come forward very strongly indicating that Secret Wars and Battleworld is going to be the next Avengers film. Okay, so there's that. There's also been rumors in the past. Now, when I was at New York Comic-Con, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I spoke to some people at Marvel, okay? And I asked them about this, and I asked them about the rumors, and I asked them about the speculation. And it was indicated to me by these people that without basically saying it, that they were saying, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we head towards Secret Wars and if we get a Battleworld, a version of Battleworld coming up for Avengers 5. So that is kind of just to supplant that idea out there to you guys. I am very confident that this is the way we're going to go. And I want to throw this question to you, Ryan. When people out there say that the MCU is on a decline, or that when we have nothing else to look forward to, that basically Endgame was too big, right?
Right.
What is your take on that? And I guess considering the Battleworld thing, obviously there's a lot more stuff to happen in the MCU. But what do you think? What's your thoughts on that? When people say oh, it's all downhill for the MCU, what do you think about that?
It's definitely a thing that is real out there. And one can be nervous, especially if, we're getting such a big slate the next 2 years with so much content and so many characters that people might fall off, comic book fatigue. But you got to see what Feige's going to do at the end of the day.
Right.
And then especially with something as big as Secret Wars, we all thought that, at the end of phase 4, there'd probably be some Secret Avengers movie. But now if they're going to try to include all of this, it's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is going to be pretty crazy. I think, when I look at the MCU, I kind of think that what Feige did in the first 10 years is kind of incredible, considering some of the toys that he had at his disposal, right? So this is something we talk about a lot, but basically when Marvel was selling off their licenses in the 90s, they sold off their most popular characters. Like they were trying to get the most bang for their buck, right? So they sell off what is their most valuable assets out there. This would be Spider-Man,
Right.
X-Men, Fantastic Four, right? And so when Marvel and the MCU was being created, Kevin and, everybody over there at Marvel, they're buying back their licenses, and they could only afford to buy and they could only get some of the lesser known characters. And so we
Hmm.
created a universe based off of kind of lesser known characters. And the Avengers have become so big and so poppy and
So
phenomenal.
big.
So big. And yet it's like we're just now getting a lot of the Marvel goodness to be coming back, right? And so you
Right.
got Fox, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, like that's freaking wild. But along with them, and this is a big rumor that is out there as well, is that you're getting Galactus and you're getting Doctor Doom. And the current trail of breadcrumbs out there in leaker world is the fact that Doctor Doom and Galactus are being positioned as the big bads of the cosmic side of the MCU and the earthbound side, and that those
Right.
two stories will converge into Battleworld. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, given the fact that, we've sort of been playing with the less popular toys, and yet we've made them the most popular toys, right?
Hmm.
Avengers is the biggest brand, the biggest movies ever. And now that we're getting, some of the other toys back, it just makes perfect sense that we would head towards some kind of a culmination with something like a battle world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what do you think about that exactly? Like, do you think this is the perfect way to bring in the Fox characters, or is Secret Wars potentially like even too crazy? You know what I mean? Like, is there too much going on? What do you think?
I, I think things need to be established. It's going to be tough to just drop in, the X-Men now. And like even in the 80s run, like the first run of Secret Wars, there was still that like human versus mutant conflict, even amongst the heroes in this big thing. And I think that really needs to be established first. Um, and then obviously you got to bring in Galactus, Doctor Doom, which I could totally see in like Multiverse of Badness. Maybe even like Wanda's the one that kind of opens a rift to bring something in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, if Phase 4's 2022, 2023. Yeah, it's going to take a while to get there, but
Yeah.
they're going to build it up to an almost end game level in half the time.
Oh, and that's the thing. And that's actually a really good point, is that they're going to do this at an accelerated rate. And it's so cool because like Marvel just has that capacity now, right? Like, so they have the ability to do it. And also, I mean, 10 years ago is in the time of the internet is ancient history. Right.
Yeah.
So nowadays, I was thinking like, man, it's crazy. We go from like 5-year phases, you know what I mean? Or, multiple year phases, really long, sprawling storytelling, to now we're going to do Secret Wars in less than 4 years. But
Right.
when you think about it, like, that's kind of the path that media is on right now. Things need to pop and just be kind of always, always be going. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's kind of wild, but yeah, it's all kind of lining up. Now, a couple of different things I want to mention here as far as evidence as well. The Russo brothers, when they were doing, the rounds of interviews for Endgame, they were asked several times about what kind of a movie would they want to do again, or would they ever come back to the Marvel Universe? And I think even all the way back to Infinity War, the Russo brothers, like Joe had that comment where he said, "Oh, it'd be fun." It's like with all the Fox and those characters coming back in, there's going to be so many characters. It'd be fun to do something like Secret Wars. And then he does that really coy
Yeah.
thing where he's like, and his brother like makes that smile or whatever. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then you hear stories that Feige and all of these guys are planning out Infinity War and Endgame all the way back during Age of Ultron. So during Age of Ultron, Marvel is having these meetings where they are considering and really crafting together how to get to Infinity War and Endgame. And what I'm saying to you guys is there's no way they haven't already had those discussions.
Oh, no
Like
way.
the Russos are already all about it. It just makes sense if you look at Marvel media too, and this is something that I think is really interesting. This is something that the guy from Marvel at New York Comic Con was telling me. He said the way that Marvel media works, they'll try different things either in the comics or in the video games, and they're sort of seeing how fans react to it. But they really do like to have things, kind of have a mapping or be cohesive, right? And so if you look at some of the things that are going on in the video games and the comics heading towards Secret Wars, another version of Battleworld or something like that creeping up, like I wouldn't be surprised if you see more and more of that creeping up in the next couple of years. And, we've been talking a lot about Jonathan Hickman's X-Men and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there is a way that they will introduce the mutants and the mutant-human conflict and tie that into Secret Wars, perhaps, using a lot of Hickman's stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
Hickman's crazy, and in the most wonderful way. I think it would be hard cinematically if they're going to bring in Secret Wars. I kind of think it's going to be more on that first run. Hickman's, unless they go crazy Wanda,
Yeah.
and to kind of smash the two worlds together, that kind of seems hard, for maybe a general audience to grasp now, currently. That'll take a lot of world building,
Yeah.
which obviously Feige can do easily. But, I see it more being having the Beyonder kind of supersede, like Galactus. Once we bring in Galactus, then there's another thing. And that kind of gets to be that other Thanos, basically.
Yeah.
He's bigger, he's worse. There's, somehow this thing can get us all to this one place.
Yeah, no, I love
But
it.
God, I would love to see a pet Galactus and Franklin,
and some Franklin Richards.
right on his head.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is where my head has always been at, and like obviously, like I get a little fanboyish about stuff, and like have my head canon and stuff. But like when I saw Endgame, I was like, this is the perfect way to get to the incursions. This is the perfect way to get to the more modern Secret Wars, because they'll probably do a combination of both, right? And they'll do their own version for the MCU, right? And I just, by the way, I
Right.
love how Marvel does this. They're like, well, let's do, this. Like, this will be our version or whatever. And Trev, I totally see you with the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. I'll get to that in just a second, but you're absolutely right. But I saw an opportunity immediately with the way they did the branch timelines. Bro, I'm telling you, they did not get out clean. They did
No way.
not get out clean from Avengers
No way.
Endgame. And when I saw Captain America, Chris Evans, Captain America as a young Cap, get into a freaking time machine with Mjolnir and 6 Infinity Stones, like that is comic book. Like that's the most beautiful comic book open-ended string that they could play on ever. Like that
Right.
dude is showing up in Secret Wars. Like that, because you have to understand, for those of you that don't know or aren't familiar, when it comes to Secret Wars, essentially what happens is the entire multiverse is destroyed by these people known as the Beyonders, okay? And the Beyonders are basically like these gods, and they're like experimenting with life or whatever, and they're like, this experiment failed. So they go to destroy the universe, like the multiverse, everything, right? And what happens is Doctor Doom he figures out a way to use the power of Molecule Man, which is something that Trev is pointing to, and he steals the power of the Beyonders, and he grabs pieces of the universe that he can, the multiverse that he can get his hands on, and he mushes it all together and basically saves the multiverse.
Right.
By grabbing different pieces of these realities, piecing them together. Now, what that becomes is it becomes a place called Battleworld. And what Battleworld is basically Game of Thrones with Marvel characters. And so like
Mhm.
Mr. Sinister is Baron von Sinister, and he's in charge of his kingdom of Sinister, and it's wild. You know what I mean? God Doom sits on the World Tree as a throne. Galactus is a sentinel outside of Castle Doom. Doctor Strange is a sheriff of Nottingham type figure, and ends up working with Doom. And what Doctor Doom is just doing is trying to be God. He's trying to be God.
Mhm.
And so essentially, even if there was a gauntlet, like there's this moment in Johnson's Secret Wars where T'Challa gets his hands on a gauntlet, but it will only work on this section of Battleworld from where the stones are at. It's a whole nother comic book thing where in the comics the stones are only effective in their native universe. You know, we'll try not to get too nerdy on you guys, but essentially that gauntlet is still no match for God Doom. Even though it can do crazy stuff, you're talking about a guy who has power over like everything. And so what I'm saying to you is Chris Evans, Captain America, will show up with Mjolnir and the Infinity Stones, and it will help. It'll be crazy. It'll be insane, and it probably still won't be enough to
Right.
defeat the God Doom. And let me ask you this, Ryan, because it's in the title. We've talked about it a little bit. What about the returning of these Avengers? Because I've always said, they're putting them on the shelf. Russo
Sure.
made that comment where he was like, we're Chris Evans isn't done. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. What do you think about these characters returning? I mean, am I crazy to think that Secret Wars isn't the perfect place to bring these characters back?
Yeah, no way. They're definitely going to come back. They both need time to do their own things. Robert Downey and Chris Evans. They've been doing this for 10 years. So I think this is something and it will help. Secret Wars will be far enough that if it's starting to fade, if they're starting to see that the MCU thing is not as popular as it was and it isn't generating out billion after billion after billion, you can use something like Secret Wars and start to hint the return of Iron Man and Captain America in one movie that would relaunch and just kind of ignite the flame again.
Oh yeah.
Back into the MCU.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and there's no way that they don't come back.
I mean, it's the perfect play. They'll back up the money truck for these guys, which is fine and good for them. But here's another thing that this solves. This is why this is so cool. So in phase 4, Feige has said is all about new faces, building out new cast. It's about like the next step, right? Now, one of the things that's sort of an issue with this is that now that the Avengers, the mainstay Avengers, are gone, it's hard to have like mentor scenes or baton passing scenes with these characters, right? So like I would have loved for Carol Danvers to have more time with Cap and Tony. Like I just feel like that's important for her character moving forward if she's an Avenger and all that, right? Similar with some of the new people, Shang-Chi. We really need a Shang-Chi Iron Man scene, right? Like in order to make it work, we really need that. Now, of course, the problem is those characters are gone, so that will not happen. But what Secret Wars affords you is a miracle opportunity where you establish your new characters in phase 4, and maybe it does dip in popularity. Maybe people are like, I like it, but I miss the old crew. I miss the old Avengers. I really wish they were still around. All of a sudden you get Battleworld and Secret Wars, and you got all your new crew with the OGs. You bring the OGs back one more time, baby.
Yeah.
Bring them back. You know what I mean? And then you get to have all of those scenes with Tony and Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? With the Eternals and the Guardians. You get to have all of that flavor that you need. And Secret Wars is literally the perfect way to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm nerding out about the possibilities. I think that without a doubt, this will be a bigger film, and I think it'll be a 2-parter. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I think they kind of have to, right? But even if they don't do it as a 2-parter, this is going to be one of the biggest, most epic films ever. And I just think when people say like, "Hey, MCU's on the way out," it's like, guys, like, have you read comics? Like, do you have any idea what can happen? And Ryan, also, the most popular baddie of all time at this point, I think he's kind of almost even superseded Darth Vader for a lot of these kids out there. Thanos shows up in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars. In fact, Thanos has a huge role to play in Secret
Right.
Wars. So talk to me about Thanos in the Secret Wars, what that would mean for fans. What do you think about that?
You get to see the heel turn good, because basically Thanos, being what he is and not really caring about anything but his objective.
Yeah.
But he's basically a good guy in the story.
Yeah.
So could you imagine Thanos coming in and then it would be awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And just that there's a lot of things, and Magneto.
Yeah, dude.
He's gonna have to be a good guy. There's so much development. The way people saying that the MCU's not doing well, they're crazy, because they just got their biggest IP.
Yes.
Them building out the Fantastic Four is going to be amazing, because it's we haven't gotten it.
Right. We haven't gotten it right. I mean, besides,
and I can see the Russos wanting to take that over.
Right.
Let's build the family, like the first family of Marvel, back to prominence.
It's so funny. It's cool that you said that too, because it makes me just remember. So I like Black Panther the movie, but I honestly like T'Challa better in Civil War. And it's really it's no dig on anybody. It's just the fact that I really believe that the Russo brothers are just a special kind of directing team.
Right.
And their version, I like Captain Marvel better in Endgame. I know we see different shades of her and stuff, but I'm telling you guys that whatever happens, they'll establish these characters, and particularly Doctor Doom. I'm incredibly interested in Magneto, Charles, a lot of the mutants. I'm very interested. Namor, come on, please. You know what I mean? I'm very interested, but I'm almost more excited for the prospect of the Russos coming back, taking all these new characters. We get to see the Russo brothers version.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, that is the most hype thing.
Right.
I am so looking forward to all of that. The little different character moments, the distrust among mutants and humans on Battleworld, the possibility of villains versus heroes, the possibility of backstabbing, Thanos and God Doom. God Doom at one point in the comics, literally says something. They have a confrontation, him and Thanos, and he says something well, you don't have a gauntlet now, do you? And Thanos just says, no, but I don't need a gauntlet to deal with a punk like you, or something like that. God Doom literally rips his freaking skeleton out of his body and destroys him. It's one of the coolest things I've seen in comics. Literally just pwns Thanos.
Right.
And so to see some stuff like that be reimagined on the screen, particularly with the Russo brothers putting their stamp on it, just has me frankly incredibly excited. And guys, we're going to get into Q&A in just a little bit here. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, different things that people would like to talk about. Here's the deal. So we're geeking out about Secret Wars. We're very excited about it. We're pretty confident it's happening. But also, we recently just passed 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube.
Yes.
Super wild. We're very grateful for that. You guys are amazing out there, the support you guys have shown for the content. And so this is kind of a celebration of 100,000 subscribers as well. So if you got questions about Secret Wars, or you got questions about the channel, or you got questions about, my favorite breakfast food or whatever, put your questions in the comment. We'll probably ramble for, I'd say, probably 10 more minutes, and then we will get into Q&A. You guys take over the show. We're going to talk about what you guys want to talk about. Ryan, let me just ask you this. What do you want to see out of Doom in the MCU movies leading up to Secret Wars? Because the build with Doom, it was very interesting in Jonathan's books, the way he used Doom prior to the time running out and, the collapse and all that. You really don't see it coming. How do you think they'll use Dr. Doom in these films over the next 4 years to lead up to Secret Wars?
That's a good question. Do you think they put Doom in as the first Fantastic Four villain?
I kind of do. I mean, I kind of feel like they need to establish him very quickly. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the Fantastic Four. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if Doom is technically introduced maybe before the Fantastic Four. And one of the things...
Scene of credit.
Like Sokovia. You know what I mean? I've heard there's a lot of cool rumors, about how that could all work. Particularly... with the state of the world, right? I mean, after Endgame, like, dude, all bets are off. Everybody's looking for heroes. Like, it's wild, right? So I would actually possibly even expect him to be presented maybe even before the Fantastic Four. But the rumor is that the FF were in the negative zone and they've been trapped since the 60s. And that something to do with Endgame is going to break them out of the negative zone. And we're going to get another, fish out of water, man out of time story.
Right.
And I don't know if they'll do that with Doom. But yeah, so what do you think? Like, what would you expect to see from that character?
Yeah, I think it works best if, like what you're saying, they do it over time, because they need an earthbound villain who is dynamic. Mysterio was good because he was kind of that first villain that wasn't just a run-of-the-mill MCU villain. So, if you give him a few years to develop, you kind of hate him, you kind of love him, you love to hate him, like that kind of character. That's what you really kind of need to see. It would be interesting to see if they do the whole negative zone, because you need that relationship with Reed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And it's so important, the dynamic between Reed and Victor. That's a very delicate relationship. It's a lot like Charles and Magneto, right? So like
Right.
they have a very particular relationship, and the dynamic between it is so important. And I think very similarly between of Doom and Reed. And so I mean, like, here's the thing, guys. Like, you're crazy if you think. Okay, so one last thing that I'll say, kind of before we get into straight up Q&A. There's this whole thing about the phases. There's this whole idea that Phase 4 is only until 2021, and then we'll go right into Phase 5. And I've kind of often I go back and forth on this idea that there's this third year for Phase 4. And the reason, there's like a lot of different reasons that I believe this, but I truly believe that the Spider-Man situation with Sony altered the way they were announcing stuff at San Diego Comic-Con. Because is there technically a quote, yes, where Feige says this is the complete Phase 5, the way I announced the complete Phase 4 5 years ago? Now, when he says that, he's almost saying it with the out in there, because that slate was changed from 5 years ago.
Already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like saying, this is the complete Phase 4, the way I announced the complete Phase 3, meaning things change. And there's also a lot of interesting situations. Like, for instance, the fact that they announced the shows at D23 and they say that they're Phase 4, but it looks as though, if you look at like the way they announced them in the timeline, it definitely looks like they're coming out in 2022. So are the Disney Plus shows in 2022 a part of Phase 4, but Black Panther 2 that comes out in 2022, that's not a part of Phase 4? I don't know about that, Chief. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm kind of confused as to how that is going. But the bottom line is, Feige also said at San Diego, we were thinking about how much to announce today, but we decided 11 properties in 2 years is enough to announce. So, like, dude, guys, they know they have the next 5 to 6 years. Battleworld and Secret Wars, and how they are going to get there is already in the plan. And we found out that early next year they're doing, or maybe it's even late this year, they're doing a Marvel retreat with all the filmmakers that are going to be making movies in the next 5 to 6 years, and they're going to literally iron out how to do this. The last time they did a meeting like this, Age of Ultron, working towards Infinity War. So it's like all the signs are there, man. All the signs are there. I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar that we are heading towards Secret Wars and Battleworld. And not only that, we're only going up from here. The MCU hype train has not stopped at all. I'm telling you guys, we're going.
Let's get the return of Ultron,
dude.
OG run, Secret Wars, yeah.
Like, that's the thing, right? Nothing is off limits. Ultron, Red Skull. You know what I mean? Like, different versions of characters we haven't seen. Like, there's so much opportunity here to do crazy stuff. Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars was such an enjoyable read, and the tie-ins were amazing. Amazing. So it completely makes sense to me that this is the way that we're going, right? You know what I mean? So, guys, that's our diatribe about Secret Wars, Battleworld. If you're hearing people out there, saying that it's over for the MCU, give them the business. You know what I mean? Tell them to button up their shirt straight because you're about to give them the business because there's no way that is true. So now we're going to shift into Q&A, guys. Q&A. Secret Wars, Battleworld, Feige doing Star Wars, 100,000 subscribers. What timeline is this? It's a pretty good timeline if you ask me. So let's jump into Q&A, guys. Get your questions going. Now, the way this is going to work is if you got some loot and you want to throw a super chat at us, we'll answer every single super chat that comes in. If you don't have any loot, don't worry about it. Drop your questions into the chat. I will get to as many questions as I can just from the chat. But yeah, we'll, of course, answer the super chats. So let's get into some of these super chats that we've gotten here. Let's see. We had one come in from Trev. For some reason, this is being stupid, and I can't see what the super chat was. And then we got one from Kate. Let's see here. Okay, so Trev said Molecule Man powering God Doom would be fantastic. Yeah, so we'll start there. And then Cater, the country gal, says just throwing love and support. Keep it up, guys. Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about Molecule Man. So Molecule Man is an interesting character because in the Secret Wars, and I guess spoilers for Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, Molecule Man is essentially a bomb that was placed in every universe. So in every single universe in the multiverse, Molecule Man was created by the Beyonders, and he is literally a freaking bomb. The function of Molecule Man is to blow up the entire multiverse all at once, right? So Doctor Doom brilliantly figures this out, and he goes around to the different multiverses and has Molecule Man murder the other Molecule Mans. And in this crazy weird way, he's absorbing the power of them. And so the Molecule Man from basically the Molecule Man that Doom uses to absorb the power of the Beyonders and all that. Because the Beyonders usually, they take their own power to create Molecule Man, right? He gets this one version of Molecule Man to have all the power from all of them throughout the multiverse. And that is how he's able to then not only beat the Beyonders, but then trap their power into Molecule Man. But I don't even know if the MCU needs to do that, right? Like, what do you think about that, Ryan? Like, you think we're gonna get Molecule Man, or you think that they'll just kind of find a workaround for that?
They could, but even again in the original run, he was a big role. He's one of the Fantastic Four 2 or something like that. But again, that would probably be too far out. But I kind of think he's important. It's the best sounding superhero or villain name ever, Molecule Man.
Yeah, right.
No, they could always find a workaround. They have before, they will again. But yeah, there's almost a lack of villains to have in a movie like this. Sure. We're getting the Mandarin, Taskmaster. We don't know who else or what's going to be used for the Eternals and stuff like that. But eventually, you're going to need a team of supervillains to go up against. God, I can't wait to see Apocalypse.
I know. I just saw someone in the chat talking Apocalypse, and I'm like, yes,
yeah,
we definitely need that. No, I agree. I think they could do it. I think they'll do something similar either way. Like Doom will basically figure out a way, and I think that it'll tie into the Power Cosmic and what's going on with Galactus, because they're gonna do a version.
They could use him,
right? So they'll do a version of it that makes sense for their contect, and perhaps Galactus will replace Molecule Man as far as Galactus is the end game for the Beyonders or something like that, right? So they could change it up like that. But yeah, it seems really cool. I want to take this question here, though, from Trey F. Kennedy, because it's just freaking sweet.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Yeah. What Avengers vs. X-Men or Secret Wars, which one would be more impactful? And I want to go to you first on this one. What do you think?
As I was reading everything over again and the runs, I almost think you need Avengers versus X-Men to get to Secret Wars.
Yeah.
It again, that tension that's between that's something that the Russos, if they were going to direct this movie, that's something that they would play off of. That's a very big theme that's going to be used, I think, in the X-Men. Is just that, you know, the the mutants are so big, they don't need team up movies. You know, you
Yeah.
can come up with so many different plots and stories for them to use, hopefully done better than we've seen before.
Yeah.
um but in order to kind of get the team together, I sort of think that's a good first go, and then you get to play off of what happens in that movie in Secret Wars.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I'm kind of with you. I do think it could work out really nicely that way. I just think that the priority will probably be to get to Battleworld and Secret Wars for maybe a lot of the reasons that we talked about as far as like using the old cast, because like Downey's getting pretty old, right? Like he probably only got one, maybe two more cameo appearances. You know, in 4 or 5 years from now, I think they'll want to bring a lot of the main cast back. I think it just kind of makes sense. Besides that, it's possible that they're both incredibly hyped. I've often said that Avengers versus X-Men, like if you look back at like one of the first few videos I did, it's so funny. If you go back and watch one of the first couple of Den and Nerds videos, the first few videos really set the tone for the entire channel. Because the very first video I did was about Rey being a version of Vader, or like a reincarnated Vader. And then the next video was about Avengers versus X-Men coming and Kevin Feige. And I was gushing about Feige even back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do think that both are incredibly important. But I think that you really need to develop the mutants within the MCU a little bit more before we get to something like Avengers vs. X-Men. So the thing with
Right.
Battleworld is you don't necessarily need a lot of context or setup, because basically the way Battleworld happens for most of the characters is it's just snap and we're just in a different
Right.
world, right? And then you just kind of got to figure it out. So that's what's really cool about that story is like to the people on Battleworld, that's what Battleworld has always been. They don't even have a reference of like nobody
Yeah.
remembers the old world except a few people. So they don't need to set that up per se with the characters. It just boom, it happens. I think Avengers vs. X-Men is a little bit more contingent upon the character developments, the tension within the world, the hate of mutants, Magneto's hate of humanity, you know, that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I think the way they'll do it is they'll battle world it, they'll play off the tension in there, and then years down the line we'll get Avengers versus X-Men with the new by the way, the mostly new Avengers and new X-Men, but really like old school X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really cool. But let's get to knock out some of these super chats, and then we'll see what's going on in the regular chat. Peacenik 2K7 says Avengers 5 should borrow from the Ultimates and have either the Liberators or borrow from the new Avengers run and lean into experiments on mutants. I like both of those ideas, and I do think that so it's almost like separate things going on. But yeah, like the X-Men, it's so important to them that people will be distrusting of mutants and stuff like that. So they'll build up that tension. I would say in the little movies leading towards it, and although I do think it could have a place in the big movie, I think it'll sort of be background. But what do you think about that? You think they'll play off of the Liberators or like the Right or new event or the experiments on mutants? You think they'll play off of that?
Eventually, maybe not in Avengers 5. That would be, again, pretty quick. You got to think X-Men hasn't even been announced yet.
Right.
You know, we know that they kind of probably have a good idea, or maybe not. There's so much stuff, and Feige is a busy man.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Maybe that's how we see Wolverine played in, experiments and,
Yeah, I mean they could certainly do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an interesting way that they could tie it in, but like I said, I think that is more or less going to be a part of the mutants story in the MCU either way, right? Doesn't necessarily need to be focused on for Secret Wars. Let's get to Brent Maxey's question here. With the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. Are you worried if Feige leaves to do just Star Wars that the MCU might start to fall apart? Star Wars Feige will be awesome. Also, congrats on 100K. Thank you so much for the support, man. Really appreciate it. You've been supporting the channel for a long time. Always seeing you in the chats. Always seeing you online. So thank you very much. As far as your question is concerned, I don't think Feige is going to technically leave Marvel even if he does take over Star Wars. So right now, we got to be completely real about this. And by the way, guys, if everybody's watching this, smash the like button. I'll know if you don't
Smash
do it,
it.
and I'll get pissed off. So smash the like button. And also, tomorrow, I'm sitting down with Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and we're literally going to do a live stream talking about leaks, Star Wars, his scoops, what's going on in the fandom right now, because the fandom's in an uproar about these leaks. But Jason reported that he is hearing that Feige will do more than just come over and co-produce a film. That Feige is going to literally replace Kathy Kennedy as the president of Lucasfilm. Now, there's this has caused so much confusion and turmoil within fans because we're all like, well, wait a minute. Is he going to be in charge of Marvel and Star Wars? Can he actually do that? Is he going to have to leave Marvel? If he leaves Marvel, are we screwed? You know what I mean? Like, there's all these questions. What I would say to you is this. My take on it, and actually, I was just talking to, I know I talked to Al about this last night. Did we talk about this at all, Ryan, last night?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think we did. So my take on this is that Feige has so many lieutenants at this point, and the MCU is such a well-oiled machine that, like,
Yeah.
how active do you think he actually has to be on these sets and different things like that? Like, he doesn't really have to do that. The hard work in the MCU is sort of behind him. And also, like, you gotta think, this is what I love about Feige. He's such a nerd that, like, people out there are like, oh, I wonder how Feige is gonna be handling Fantastic Four and X-Men. He's only got a couple years to figure that out. It's like, bro, this guy has been thinking about how to do this since like age 12.
Yeah.
This guy knows what he's going to do with this. And all he has to do is put the right pieces into place. It's not like he has to come up with the designs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
he's a hardworking man. He's obviously, in my opinion, the best producer of all time. I think the play is he spends the next couple of years here setting up. And by the way, a lot of this hard work is, like I said, behind him. He spends the next couple of years setting up X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Secret Wars. And then he goes over to start doing the hard work at Star Wars. And so
Right.
Marvel is going to essentially become kind of light work for him. And he will, if he takes over for Lucasfilm, for Kathy, he will dig in and spend the next several years working really hard on figuring out the future of Star Wars. But then essentially after that, he's kind of on autopilot there as well. So that's
Right.
kind of my take. But what's your take on this at Feige Star Wars?
That's pretty much what I think. He can kind of say, this is the direction. These are the characters. Go do something with it, and he has a team. We know he's, a hardline guy.
Yeah.
He likes to have the control.
Yep.
But as we know, Star Wars is kind of his first thing. So now if he gets to really get his hands dirty and all of that, bring in some of the, extended stuff that Star Wars has to offer. Yeah, he's going to be focused on that, but he'll still be able to look at the direction and just say, let's kind of tweak this. Let's start to bring up this, and then we'll convene in 6 months. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they have meetings. They know where they're going.
Yeah.
And then 5 years ahead of time, it gives them enough time to play with things. And if something falls in their lap, like Spider-Man did, oh, the face changed. Yeah, here's a Spider-Man movie. Like he can weather the storm.
Yeah, he can play jazz. I mean, he's so good. My thing is, I would, just to be frank though, I would be worried if he left Marvel. Like, I really would be worried, and that would be freaking tough for me because much like Feige, Star Wars is my love. Like, Star Wars is where my heart is at. But Marvel has created something kind of unbelievable. Like the
Right.
way that we all view Marvel, it's like it's damn near hater proof. It's like this community is amazing. It's been so good to me personally, and grown this channel and all these things. So it would be very tough to see him leave completely. But yeah, my opinion is that he could do both, but that's just my opinion. Let's see here. Let's take a couple more of these super chats. Peace Nick says, coming in again, says Avengers vs. X-Men should be the men's Civil War event. I'm not sure what you mean there,
The
bro.
X-Men Civil War event, maybe.
Yeah, maybe X-Men Civil War event. Okay, yeah, that's probably what he means. I agree with that. That would be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that totally plays. Let's see here. Second Street Marvel Trinity coming in says little late. What did I miss? Drop some likes. Show some love. Here's to the next 900 and above. Thank you so much for the support, Second Street Marvel. We just been gushing, my friend. We just been gushing about Secret Wars Battleworld. Talking about how the people at Marvel have kind of said to me that that's what's going to be happening. And yeah, we're very excited about it. Let's see here. Dequan Seeley says, so no Dark Avengers ? Ryan, what do you think, man? Is this so? We're talking a lot about Battleworld and all that. No Dark Avengers. Is my heart going to be broken? Do I have to sacrifice Dark Avengers to get Battleworld? What do you think?
I just think we have to keep the drinking game going a little bit longer.
Yeah, dude, I feel you. I still think they could do it. What do you think? Do you think they could maybe do? What if they do Secret Wars or Dark Avengers in 2022, and then Secret Wars in 2024? You think that's possible?
Sure, anything's possible with Feige at the helm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I still want to see. I really want. I don't want them to try to play too much. I really want to see Norman Osborn in there. So if they can keep working out some deals and just passing the the ball with Spidey back and forth.
Yeah, it would be so cool, right? I mean,
yeah, but I'd like to see kind of like a real, Dark Reign thing happen.
Yeah. No.
God, I hope they could play ball.
I'm with you, man. I mean, so I think, through Feige, all things are possible. I'm very confident in Dark Avengers. Perhaps Dark Avengers could be a thing via Battleworld. I mean, that could be the thing. They could definitely do both. Like, they could do both. Technically, Dark Avengers or New Avengers could be Avengers 5, and then Avengers 6 could be Secret Wars.
Sure.
Particularly if they tie it to Doctor Doom. So So this is what I would do, and this is one of those moments, guys, where I'm going to tell you, you might just want to keep this in mind that old Josh said this, and in a couple years you might be like, damn, dude, this dude, how does he get this stuff right? Here's what I would do. I would literally have the next Avengers film be called New Avengers, and I would advertise it and market it as the new group of Avengers, and then the actual movie would be kind of Dark Avengers. And it would be how these new people are being ousted, or like they're joining up with the Avengers, but then they have this harsh realization that, oh my gosh, like Doctor Doom's in charge of this. This is bad and nefarious.
Which is kind of the way they've set things
Correct.
up. I mean, in the timeline, Mysterio, with anyone, we're just looking for someone to hold up on a pedestal. Yep. It kind of is trending that way.
Yeah. So that's kind of the way that I think they'll do it. Is they just call it New Avengers, and then all of a sudden, it is Dark Avengers. Like, the New Avengers is the villains. Do you know what I mean? Right. The New Avengers and the Dark Avengers movie could be the same movie. And then we head towards Secret Wars. You know what I mean? Like, right. Oh man, that'd be nuts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll take a few more of these super chats here. Let's see here. Trey F. Kennedy says Rogue taking Captain Marvel's powers would be lit. I'm not gonna argue with that. That would be very cool. What do you think, Ryan? You think we're gonna get Rogue taking Captain Marvel's powers?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
She could take anyone's.
Yeah, why not, dude?
Yeah, why not?
Certain people might be upset, but I think it would be kind of cool. Let's see here. Another one from Daquan. Should there be a Doctor Doom movie before Fantastic Four? So I've kind of spoken to this a little bit. I think they might introduce Doctor Doom before Fantastic Four, but I highly doubt there will be a Doctor Doom movie dedicated to him before Fantastic Four. Noah Hawley was working on a Doctor Doom movie, and it sounds like it was going to be incredible, but that movie's not happening now. You know what I mean? But what's your take, Ryan? You think Doctor Doom movie before FF?
Yeah, you got to establish him first.
Yeah.
Per se, again, we can have a Doctor Doom now who's kind of maybe, he's stepping out after all the Endgame things. Like Latveria is now opposite to what Wakanda is.
Yeah.
In a faction kind of way, and someone is writing that Mysterio line, we're going to want to see someone come up and rise as a world leader. Maybe that's how they kind of, pull on the strings, get the name out there. Because again, Doctor Doom could be that Thanos level popularity easily, if done right and the arc's told correctly.
Yeah. No, I think I think it could.
So I definitely think we see him first. Mm-hmm. Not his own movie, but he'll get end scenes, credit scenes.
Yeah.
And then you hit him with the final or Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Boom.
Oh man, that would be really cool. I'm just really excited to see what Feige does with Doctor Doom. I mean, dude, we're getting all the best toys back. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be really cool. Let's take this question from Maverick Pilgrim. Maverick Pilgrim, big time Patreon supporter. Awesome, dude. Let's see here. Are we going to get the Incredibles crossing over into Battleworld? And when heroes from NBC be joining Disney Plus shows? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say 100% yes. So
yes.
But I mean, in all seriousness, it can get pretty wild with Battleworld. I think one of the things that I would be like so pumped to see would be, in a lot of what they're gonna do in What If, right? It's gonna be really weird in the way they play with everything. So I think you could potentially see some of that showing up in Battleworld as well, where like for instance, the police of the whole world are Thors, but there's like a Groot Thor. You know what I mean? There's like all these different Thors. And so like the ability for them to do some really weird stuff like that at this point, like it's so crazy to me because this film would have never worked if Endgame, a 3-hour long movie about freaking time travel and crazy superhero bizarreness, that is literally the biggest film of all time. Guys, it's the biggest film of all time. We have now set up the world. The world is now ready for story time with Kevin Feige. So we can do that. We can do the craziest stuff, and it'll play.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's amazing to be here. Let's see here. Zachary Hendricks says, what do you think the Phase 5 and 6 slate should look like? Congrats on 100K. Thank you very much. Phase 6 is really interesting. We really have not a lot to go on as far as how that could all go. But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you some of the films that I want to see, and we can kind of just go from there. I think my top one is actually Exiles. And one of the reasons I want Exiles so badly is just because it can exist outside of the canon and can visit all these different time periods, and you can also have the what if versions of characters. And so you could have Spider-Man 2099, the good guy version of Hyperion, and that kind of a team. I just think that would be really, really cool. Maybe they're fighting Kang, you know what I mean? Just going throughout time trying to stop Kang or something. That would be really cool. That's a movie I would really, really want. And I can't really think of perhaps maybe War of Kings or something in Phase 6. Let me ask you this, Ryan. If we get Avengers vs. X-Men and we get Secret Wars, what would be the next big event after that? What could possibly be the next thing after that? Anything come to mind?
Oh, maybe like an Illuminati.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty epic mix. Like we were saying, I think like if they go Battleworld and Secret Wars first and Avengers X-Men thing, I think would probably be that Phase 6 kind of culmination.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Especially if you're gonna kind of use Galactus and Doom now.
Yeah,
because that would be, unless that's maybe when they bring in more of an apocalypse thing, but I kind of think they'll sprinkle him in throughout the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of wild stuff that they could do. We're seeing some good stuff kind of jump into the chat. Squadron Supreme, that's better than Justice League, would be awesome. Avengers vs. Monsters, Secret Invasion. There's a lot of stuff they can do. I think
maybe they could get the Phoenix right. I don't.
Yeah. They have to, right? Like so. Yeah, the Phoenix Force would be absolutely amazing. There's just the wild stories with Fantastic Four, and that whole Council of Reeds story is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff. We could get what's the villain that I'm thinking of? That's Magneto and Charles's Rage together. Um,
Oh,
Onslaught, right?
thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So Onslaught, I mean, dude, that could be freaking wild, right? Some Onslaught action would be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's
Annihilus.
yeah, dude, exactly.
There's so
Annihilation
many.
Wave, yeah, like there's a lot of cool stuff that they could play around with. Yeah. So and they're by the way, they're still writing some great stories. This Jonathan Hickman X-Men stuff is so cool. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if we get a version of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run, and we're pretty sure this is leading. I think this is leading to either another Avengers versus X-Men, which it probably is that, or like another version of Secret Wars that John will do probably in like 3 years from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long arc.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long
It's
arc.
gonna be a long ride.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and then Deadpool, of course, as well. Yeah, you got a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff coming in. But guys, we're just gonna take a couple more questions and then we're gonna call it. Thank you guys so much for showing up to this live stream. Yeah, 100,000 subs, man. It's pretty wild. And given all of the crazy stuff that's coming from Marvel and Star Wars and DC has some good stuff on the horizon as well. We're gonna continue to just pump out so much nerdy content. It's wild. I was saying to people last night, Feige going over to do Star Wars is legitimately the best thing that could have happened for us as a company. And that's not
Yeah.
hyperbole. Like that's legitimately the best thing that probably could have happened for us as a company. Everybody knows we stand Feige. Everybody knows I love Star Wars. Yeah, it's time.
In Feige, we
In
trust.
Feige, we trust absolutely. Because if you don't trust him at this point, you got trust problems. You got trust issues.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What would gross more, Secret Wars, Battleworld, or Endgame? Dude, you go ahead and take that one. What do you think?
I think Secret. Depending on how it's all played out, it's pretty tough to beat a 10-year
Yeah,
build up.
that's the thing, right?
I mean, Endgame, that's pretty epic, and Secret Wars to get close, if because again, it's only 5 years. They're going to try to play on what they've built now and kind of striking hard and fast while the iron's still cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of think there's something about a 10-year arc. Tony Stark, look, if Tony Stark and Cap come back,
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge
it'll be huge.
Yeah.
But you got to give them enough time. You give them 5 or 6 years away. You sparsely, if ever, use them, and then you drop them right back into a crossover event. Yeah, it could.
Here's something that could work. I kind of agree with you. So I think it's really hard to top Endgame's box office. I mean, the cliffhanger of Infinity War is literally so legendary. It's such a legendary thing, led to so much speculation and hype building towards Endgame that like Endgame was kind of bound to be so big. You know what I mean? They just did it masterfully, right? But how
Right.
about this, dude? What if this? Check this out. What if we get the Dark Avengers film, and the Dark Avengers film leads to the cliffhanger of the universe being destroyed and Doom putting it back together. And you're left with this. You're left not like all the comic book fans know, like, yo, we're going to Battleworld now.
Right.
But all the casuals are like, what the hell just happened? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Then, if they did that, then the Secret Wars movie could absolutely beat Endgame.
Sure.
Particularly if they sprinkle in the fact that Downey's coming back, Cap's coming back, all that. So that's potential. That could happen.
Mhm.
And then we will end off with this question from my friend Maverick Pilgrim. Is Marvel so extra this point to possibly release an unannounced film? No marketing, just a trailer, and released next day. Could you imagine the hype? So what's your take on that, man? What do you think? You think Marvel could do that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
they could absolutely, if they could get no spoilers and no whatever, to then automatically just drop something like that. Yeah, they could absolutely do. They could do whatever they want.
Yep. I mean, I would say to you that yes, they could do that, but that's pretty risky. You know
It's
what I
pretty
mean?
ballsy.
Yeah, that'd be pretty ballsy. And also, I just feel like the most of the internet would know that it's happening because the
Yeah,
leaks with Marvel right now, everybody knows that that's where the hype is. Everybody follows the hype. So there would be people breaking it, there would be people leaking it and stuff like that. What's more likely or what's more possible is what if they misdirected because they're getting very good at misdirection and marketing and
sure.
stuff. The thing is, this is something they could do. They could market New Avengers and then, like, the week before, reveal that the title is actually Dark Avengers. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's something they could actually do, and I think they'd be comfortable with doing. But as far as making an unannounced film, I mean, I don't necessarily think it would work, and it's probably too risky. Now, Apex Legends is a game that kind of did this, where it came out of nowhere, dude, like
Sure.
nowhere. Nobody even knew this game was happening, and then all of a sudden, it's a AAA BR. The day we find out about it, the day it's available, and it worked. It worked because the hype was on there. But here's the thing:
Right.
uh, Apex and Respawn Entertainment, they're not Marvel and they're not like Marvel Studios, right? So like nobody was really sniffing around. People
Yeah.
reported on that game and nobody cared. You know what I mean? So I just think it's different animals. Although yeah, they're definitely capable of it. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
Right there. But guys, we're gonna call it there. Thank you guys so much. I mean, honestly, the support in the past 8 months, 9 months has been absolutely incredible. Riding into Avengers Endgame, we garnered a lot of subscribers, a lot of support. We experienced the build up to the hype, the build up to Endgame together as a community. I was very grateful to be a voice within that. And now, we've arrived at this incredible juncture and we're moving forward. It's only up from here. I think there's just so much cool nerdy stuff happening. There's so much that I could talk to you guys about that I'm not going to, but suffice it to say, with the support of awesome people like you out there and awesome people like my friend Ryan here, guys, we are bound to succeed in a huge, huge way. And I'm thinking, we'll look back at this 100,000 stream and it'll be like, we're at 1 million subscribers and we're just like, yo, remember the 100,000 stream? If you were one of the people that are in the stream, you're a day one person to me.
Yeah.
It just means a lot. So, yeah, we're going to leave it there. And I will see you guys very soon. Hopefully you come back tomorrow for that live stream tomorrow. It's going to be very cool. I'm very excited to talk with Jason and get you guys some of the insight about these leaks. But yeah, we're gonna leave it there, guys. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and we will see you in the next video.